Welcome to his short word channel.
You shall indeed know the truth, and it shall set you free.
And we create nothing but the truth.
And you can do nothing against the truth but for the truth.
So kindly hit that subscribe button and embrace the truth.
If you observe God's pronouncement in both scenarios, very similar. It was about man reclaiming the earth. That's God's pronouncement. Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Then in Genesis 8:17, it says, bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful and multiply upon the earth. Then Genesis chapter 9 verse 1. And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Does that sound like Genesis 1:28? Okay, you're following, right? Good. The ark and Garden of Eden had 3 layers. The ark and the Garden of Eden had 3 layers. Genesis 6:16. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it above. And the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof, with lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. These connections are too obvious to ignore in arriving at what Noah's ark implied in the scriptures. Now, Noah's ark and the tabernacle. Noah's ark and the tabernacle. Both structures were to be built based on specific instructions given by God. Observe the narratives in both instances. Make thee an ark of gopher wood, room shalt thou make in the ark, and shall pitch it within and without with pitch. 15. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. Exodus 25:8. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them, according to all that I showed thee after the pattern of the tabernacle. According to all that I showed thee after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall you make it. A pattern shown by God had to be followed by both men. Now, at the completion of both the ark and tabernacle, both were said to have been built as they were instructed. Genesis 6:22. Thus did Noah according to all that God commanded him. So did he. Exodus 39:42 and 43. According to all that the Lord commanded Moses, so the children of Israel made all the work. And Moses did look upon all the work, and behold, they had done it as the Lord had commanded. Even so had they done it. And Moses blessed them. Literal connection is made between both structures. Now, Noah's ark and the temple. In both structures, there was a door on the side of it. In both the ark and the temple, there was a door on the side of it. Genesis 6:16. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it above. And the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof, with lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. 1 Kings chapter 6 verse 8. The door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house. And they went up with winding stairs into the middle chamber and out of the middle into the third. So in Genesis 3 and Genesis 4 and Genesis 11, related to God's sacred space. Then Genesis 12 will not be a deviation, because the writer is conveying the same message to its audience, the children of Israel in the Exodus. Remember, Genesis is the promise of an Exodus. So Moses is teaching from his notes and relaying to Israel the promise of God using figures, examples, and symbols that was in their culture. They knew about Eden. They knew about temple. They knew about sanctuary. And they knew about ark, which is a box where they meet with deities. Pay attention. Noah's ark, therefore, is an analogy. The Garden of Eden, analogy, where God and man are found to dwell together. So God is restating his intention for man through this medium. The writer highlighted the parallel in both Noah and Moses. This will further imply that the attempts of the biblical authors through the application of the temple or sacred space or a pattern is therefore to show an emphatic one employed by the author of scripture. They employed the use of these because these things were relevant in their day, because of the knowledge of their audience. Jesus will say, a certain man, a certain sower took seed and cast to the ground. Some fell on good ground, thorns, stony ground. Why? Because the audience he was talking to were familiar with farming. This audience that Moses and Noah were discussing with, they were used to temples, ark. They were used to Eden. It wasn't strange in their day. It was in their culture. God will always communicate with the people using the culture of the day, using the narrative of their culture to communicate spiritual realities. Where you get lost is where you stay with the figure and lose the message. There is a message that God was communicating using a parable of ark, using a parable of temple, using a parable of sanctuary, using a parable of the Garden of Eden. The message is not the Garden of Eden. The message is not the temple. The message is not the Ark of Noah. The message is not the sanctuary. But they were pointers to the message. I'm teaching good. Now, so whatever was used was because of the knowledge of the immediate audience. The temple was used to communicate a spiritual reality of God dwelling in the same place as man, with the earth as his focus. The temple was used to communicate a spiritual reality of God dwelling in the same place as man, with the whole earth as his focus. So Noah's ark can be said to be God's earth, where heaven and earth are together. The ark, therefore, is a typology of the temple of God. Later writers and authors of the scripture picked up this theme and how it was explained. So see the way David will say his own. Psalm 32 verse 6 and 7. Psalms 32, 6 and 7. For this shall everyone that is godly pray unto thee in a time when thou mayest be found. Surely in the floods of great waters they shall not come nigh unto thee. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. Selah. So God's dwelling is man's deliverance from chaotic water. Don't miss that one. God's dwelling is man's deliverance from chaotic waters. And God's dwelling is the earth. That means that the earth is salvation. Look at Psalm 29 verse 9. Psalm 29 verse 9. And the voice of the Lord maketh the hinds to curve, and discovereth the forest. And in his temple doth everyone speak of his glory. Verse 10. The Lord sitteth upon the flood. Yea, the Lord sitteth king forever. The psalmist writes about God's temple, which we have seen ought to be man's abode. And in verse 10, the ark of Noah is re-echoed as the Garden of Eden via the phrase, the Lord sitteth upon the flood. In Psalm 46 verse 1 to 4, Psalm 46 verse 1 to 4, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. There is a river, the streams thereof make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. Verse 5. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. You know, the psalmist extols God as refuge and strength and proceeds to describe a chaotic situation with the mention of the sea and its effect, thereby employing the Genesis theme of chaotic water. Genesis 1:2. Darkness upon the face of the deep. And then there is the waters that flow from the city of God, which is the holy place, and also the tabernacle of God. These will be the waters upon which the Spirit of God moved, and the waters that flow from the Garden of Eden. Now the tabernacle or the city of God cannot be moved. It is a sacred place on the earth where God is. So this narrative of God's tabernacle upon the waters runs through the scriptures. Therefore, Noah's ark is a tabernacle that was applied to figure what God had built. Noah's ark was an illustration of what God has built.